All right, good morning, everybody. What's up? Matt Modi here with another live stream of Fast Break Bets presented by DraftKings Sportsbook live at 11 a.m. every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Except for this week, we're not going to have a stream on Friday of this week or Monday of next week as I will be traveling. But regardless, same thing as usual today, going through the entire NBA slate, giving out at least one pick for each game. As for today, I think we have 8 games total, and I do have 10 picks total as well. And we're going to have 8 units risked on today's slate. And again, just a heads up, no stream this Friday or Monday. Last stream, we again had some plays get refunded because Giannis got ruled out and stuff like that. But we at least had another profitable day. I think we were up exactly 1 unit from Monday's stream, which now makes it 2 of our last 3 streams being in the green, which is a good sign after we had like 5 straight days in the red. Just a dark, brutal stretch. So I'm glad that we were able to get out of that. Hopefully we can continue the hot streak. Remember to subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel if you are not already. And then the most important thing, as I mentioned at the beginning of every stream, is get all your questions, comments, concerns, get everything that you can in the chat. I love reading through the chat and seeing what people have to say. So whether there's a play that you like that you just want to give a shout out to, that I can shout out myself, if you want my advice on a certain play, or you just want to chat hoops, want to chat whatever, get everything you can in the chat. It definitely makes these streams a lot more fun with an active chat. So Jalen already in here. Appreciate you for being in here. I hope Matt and everybody else in the chat has a wonderful Wednesday, manifesting good vibes and successful picks. Absolutely love that. Put out that positive energy in the world and you will be rewarded. So again, make sure to subscribe, make sure to comment. And then if you want to find me on social media, you can at my handle you see on the screen here at Jedi Modi. But enough of that. Let's get into today's picks. So the first game that we're going to go ahead and talk about here, this is in the Magic versus Wizards game. And I'm somehow going to have 2 picks in this one. Both of them are being tracked for a full unit. The first one is going to be Franz Wagner over 18.5 points. So this is best offered on DraftKings at -115 odds. That's at least what I was able to lock it in at before the stream started. Obviously, as we go through, you'll see the most up-to-date odds on DraftKings. So if it changes, you can at least see on the screen here. So this was a play, this Franz one, that's a 5-star play, 5-star positive expected value play on Betting Pros. An absolute banger. Betting Pros actually projects him to score right about 20 points, just under 20 points in this one. They give him a 70.5% chance of going over this number. Again, 5-star positive EV play with a positive EV percent of 24.7%. So love that from just a total math analytical perspective. And I also love this because it's a perfect fade of recent results with Franz. He admittedly has been cold recently. He's gone under this number in 3 straight games. And he's gone under in 6 of his last 10 games as well. Last game, he only scored 8 points against the Charlotte Hornets. So we're going to go ahead and label this one. It's our very first one. It's also going to be labeled our Pepto play of the day because it's going to make your stomach feel a little bit queasy. So why not just take a quick shot of Pepto, ease that a little bit. But again, I absolutely love this play. I think it's a really, really good play. The reason why I'm on this play, aside from the fact that it is positive EV on Betting Pros, it's all because of the matchup. This is a perfect matchup for Franz. The Wizards defense is a train wreck overall, but the areas in which they are particularly train wrecky is the exact areas in which Franz scores. So since February 1st, because I always like to look at the most recent data, and I try to give it about a month. The reason why I'm going from February 1st as opposed to March 1st. It's just because we had a week off with the All-Star break. So I just try to give it like the last 30 days of actual basketball because to be honest, what happened in like October isn't always relevant to what's happening now. So that's why in all these videos, I start it from February 1st, just to kind of give some insight into that. But anyways, since February 1st, the Wizards are giving up the most points per game in the restricted area and the most points in the restricted area by a mile and the 4th most points per game in the paint, but not in the restricted area. So just in the area that's still in the paint, right outside of the restricted area. Look at Franz and where he scores for the Magic. He scores the most points in the restricted area by far. So the Wizards give up the most in the restricted area by far. Franz scores the most in that area by far as well. And then he's tied for the most points for the Magic in the restricted area, but not in the paint. So the most in the restricted area, the tied for the most in the paint, that's not the restricted area. the Wizards, they just can't guard guys who get to the rim. That's where Franz does most of his magic for the Magic. So it comes as no surprise the Wizards are giving up the most points per game, both to his shooting and scoring profile, which makes sense when you look at exactly what I just said, and look at his recent success or look at his recent games specifically against the Wizards. He's cashed it in all 6. That includes going 3 for 3 last year. That includes cashing it in all 3 games so far this year. In those 3 games, he scored 31, 31, and 28 points against the Wizards. I absolutely love Wagner in this one. I love it as a fade of recent results. I love it as a positive EV play from Betting Pros, and I love it as just a matchup play as well. Zana in the comment asking me about Tyus Jones assists. I am not touching that. I've been burned by him. I think the last 2 times I've taken him, he's not gotten what we've taken him at, and it's just not a great matchup for point guard assists. The Magic play pretty good defense, so if you see people that are on that, and you trust them, by all means. I'm personally not taking the Tyus Jones assist. And I guess you're saying he had 19 potential assists last game. That's pretty good. Oh, trust me, I was on him last game as well. That 19 potential assists is pretty good. So yeah, I mean, if you like it, don't let me talk you out of it. I just personally am not playing it. But next up, the same game, Magic versus Wizards. Taking Jalen Suggs over 9.5 points, best offered at -111 odds per the Betting Pros consensus. And then again, you can see the most up-to-date odds on the screen on DraftKings. So this is another 5-star positive expected value banger from Betting Pros. They project Jalen Suggs to score 13 points in this one. So if you wanted to, you could pump him up even higher than the number we got it at. I'm just taking the 9.5, but if you want to do over 10.5, over 11.5, all those, you could get pretty juicy odds and would still be positive EV according to Betting Pros. This one is a positive EV play of 37%, and they give him a 71.7% chance of going over. So if you wanted to parlay him and Franz, I wouldn't hate that either. I know it's a little bit risky to have 2 guys on the same team go over their over-under, but I like both individually, and I like the Suggs one as well, so I'm not going to be scared off of it just because I have Wagner going over as well. Suggs has been playing pretty well recently. He's gone over this number in 7 of his last 10 games. He's also cashed it in each of his last 3 games against the Wizards this year as well. So both Suggs and Franz have gone over their point total over under against the Wizards in all 3 games this year. Now, his over-under is only 9.5, so you have to take everything with a grain of salt because, yeah, he doesn't get to the rim nearly as much as Franz Wagner does. He doesn't score as much in the restricted area or in the paint, but his over-under is half as much. So it kind of makes sense. He can still have a good matchup despite not doing it and by doing it, I mean scoring in the restricted area and in the paint as frequently as Franz. His over-under is only 9.5. But if you look at his percentage of Jalen Suggs' shots, the majority of his shots still come from 10 feet 10 feet from the bucket and in, and that's where the Wizards' defense is weakest. Markelle Fultz is also out for this game, and Jalen Suggs sees a 2.8% usage rate increase when Fultz is out. Suggs has gone over. Basically, he scored 10 or more points in 10 of his last 15 games without Markelle Fultz in the lineup. So a lot of reasons why to be in on Suggs on this one. So I like both him and Wagner individually. If you wanted to parlay them together, I think that's honestly a good play. And if you wanted to pump up Wagner to get to 20 plus and Suggs to get to like 12 plus, all those are pretty good plays. I'm just sticking with the official ones that I'm giving out on the stream, but a lot of the ways you can go about it. So that's our first 2 plays. Next up, someone mentioning Giannis basically making a 3-pointer. I've actually seen some people that I trust on the Giannis threes as well. I have 2 picks for that game. None of them are on the Giannis threes, but I do think that's a pretty good one. So if you want to lock that in, and people wanted to tail Ryan, I believe. I think that's pretty good. So next up, Cavaliers versus Hawks. Darius Garland, 4+ made 3-pointers, plus 130 odds at DraftKings. So juicy 3-point prop here that I absolutely love. The Cavs are pretty banged up recently. Like Donovan Mitchell has been out for the past couple games. Max Strus is questionable for this one. Evan Mobley is almost certain to be out, considering he was seen on crutches leaving last night's game. With all the guys hurt for the Cavs, Darius Garland has just been shooting the ball like a madman. He's just been chucking away from deep. In his last 4 games, he has made a combined 23 3-pointers. That's an absurd number in a 4-game stretch if your name isn't Steph Curry or Dante DiVincenzo recently. And he's been able to do that while attempting 42 3-pointers in that stretch as well. If you look at what the common denominator is in that 4-game sample size, it's been Donovan Mitchell being out of the lineup. Now, he got hurt 4 games ago. So the last 3 games have been without Mitchell, and the 4th game was the game in which he got hurt. And you look at from 4 games until now, that's when Garland started firing away. And kind of similar to the Franz Wagner play, where Garland shoots his 3-pointers from is where the Hawks defense is weakest. Since February 1st, the Hawks are giving up the most made above the break 3-pointers, the most attempted above the break 3-pointers in the entire NBA, while allowing the 3rd most made. So above the break 3-pointer just means it's not on the corner, it's above the break. It's from basically from like if you go from kind of like not exactly the corner, but basically everything else. It's kind of hard to explain without actually showing you a basketball court, but just means above the break 3-pointer isn't a corner 3 is really all you need to know. And again, they're giving up the most attempts and the 3rd most made since February 1st. And in that same time frame, February 1st and on, they're allowing the 4th most pull-up 3-point attempts and the 4th most made pull-up 3-pointers as well. That's where Garland has been shooting for the Cavaliers. Again, it's a smaller sample size because we're only looking at 4 games, but it's 4 games without Donovan Mitchell, who's going to be out for this game as well. He is attempting the most above the break 3-pointers, the most made and attempted on the Cavs in the last 4 games. And he's actually attempting the 9th most in the entire NBA. So not only the most on the Cavs, but the 9th most in the entire NBA. Same time frame, he's also taking and making the most pull-up 3-pointers on the Cavs as well. And he's actually attempting the 2nd most in the entire NBA, only behind Luka Doncic. So he's attempting a lot for the Cavs. And if you just look at the entire NBA as well, he's also for boot attempting 4 catch-and-shoot 3-pointers as well. The Hawks, now 4 catch-and-shoot 3-pointers is not the most on the Cavs, but still 4. And the Hawks are pretty weak at defending catch-and-shoot as well. They're basically just weak guarding any type of 3-pointers. So with Evan Mobley out, that just takes away a passing option, probably more shooting for Garland. For Max Strus out, another shooter, another passing option away for the Cavs. I love this play for Garland to make 4 or more 3-pointers. I also like the fact that even as much as he's been shooting, he was a little bit colder last game. I think he was 3 of 8 or 3 of 9 from deep. So we're not catching him in the middle of a heater, which always makes me nervous. Hopefully he can go on another heater starting tonight. So that's 3 picks deep. Jalen asking about saying, you like the Franz and Suggs picks. How about Gary Harris points or Wendell rebounds, assists? I did see that. I forget who. Someone was on Gary Harris points. Wendell rebounds. I probably wouldn't touch the assists, but the rebound sounds good. It wasn't a play, obviously, that I went with, but I know that the Wizards are giving up like the most rebounds to centers on the year since February 1st. They're like the best matchup for center rebounds. It's not a play that I went with. I like the other 2 better, but yeah, I mean, his rebounds, assuming it's not like a totally astronomical number, Wendell rebounds is pretty good. So, all right, we're 3 picks deep. Before we get into the next one, I want to talk to you about the Betting Pros Discord. So if you're looking to up your game in sports betting, look no further than the exclusive sports betting Discord community. You can find it bettingpros.com/chat. In the Discord, Betting Pros has gathered a team of expert handicappers providing you free, emphasis on that, all caps, bolded, free picks for whatever sport's going on at that current time. So when I first started doing these streams in October, it was for the NFL. It was for college football. Now that the Super Bowl's over with, it's NBA obviously starting then as well, but now it's NHL, college basketball, golf, soccer, anything you can look for, you can find in the Discord. Player props, live betting, much, much more. Get in on the action, connect with like-minded sports betting individuals such as yourselves. You can elevate your own betting strategy as well. Join us in the Discord today. Take your sports betting experience to the next level. Next up, Clippers versus Rockets. I'm taking Alperen Sengun under 21.5 points, -110 odds is the best offer price per the Betting Pros consensus. Or you can check out DraftKings and see what the best offered price there is, and maybe the odds have changed. But this is another positive EV 5-star banger from Betting Pros. They project Sengun to score 18.7 points in this one, so pretty decently below the over-under that the books are pricing it at. And they give him a 69. That's very nice. 69.6% chance of going under. Positive EV play of 32.8%. And I love this one. This is my perfect type of play that I try to look for. The absolute most fade of recent results that you could ever think of. Literally yesterday, Sengun blew up and he scored 45 points. Just a ridiculous game. Well, that's not going to carry over, in my opinion. I'm fading that, and I'm taking the under here. Prior to last night's game in which he exploded, he had only scored 22 or more points once in his previous 9 games. So he had gone under in 8 of his previous 9. And he'd gone under in 11 of 14 as well prior to this game. So just because he just exploded last night does not make me think that he's going to continue that. He's not been playing well. He has not been scoring well. The perfect fate of recent results after that performance. It's also a tough matchup against the Clippers. If you look at how the Clippers have performed against centers, basically since the All-Star break, they literally have not allowed a single center to go over their point total over-under since the All-Star break, and actually started right before. 7 straight centers against the Clippers have gone under their point total over-under. That includes some good players, right? It's not like they were just playing scrubs. Anthony Davis went under. Sabonis went under. Chet Holmgren, Rudy Gobert, all those guys went under their point total props against the Clippers. And it makes sense, right? The Clippers are giving up the second fewest points per game to centers over the past month. Their defense has been playing well, even as they've been struggling a little bit just in the wins and losses column. They haven't allowed a lot of centers to score. So I think that, coupled with the fact that everybody's going to want to take his over because he blew up yesterday, makes me think that the under is the perfect play for this one. That's our 4th pick. Next up, Grizzlies versus 76ers. I'm just taking the under 212. This is best offer at minus 115 odds per the Betting Pros consensus. Another way in which you can use the app is just line shop across all the different books on mainline plays, such as this. So if you just click a game and click the odds, it'll tell you where each book is pricing a play at, and you can kind of just pick off mispriced lines, which is what we're doing here with this under. Most books have this at 212 or 211.5, as we're getting it at 212.5. Granted, a little bit juiced at minus 115, but still some pretty good value there. Now, in terms of the game, this is just a disgusting game with some of the best players in the NBA not playing. Embiid's obviously out. Tyrese Maxey's out for this one. And the Grizzlies have been, I can't even remember a team that's had so many injuries on an entire season. That makes the under a perfect play here. The Sixers just cannot consistently put the ball in the basket with Maxey out of the lineup. He missed the last game against the Nets. And while, yeah, they did manage to score 107 points in that game, that was mostly because of a hot first quarter. And then they cooled off as the game went on. They literally scored fewer points, less points in each quarter as the game went on. So they scored the most in the first, the second most in the second, and then third most in the third, and then in the fourth. And then in the second half, they only scored 50 points. And that's kind of what I expect out of the Sixers team without Tyrese Maxey moving forward. And then you look at the Grizzlies side. They have the worst offense in the entire NBA, according to net rating, offensive net rating, I should say, on the entire season. They've just gotten worse since February 1st. They also have the worst offense since February 1st. This is a game like the Sixers don't play at that fast of a pace without Tyrese Maxey. It's just gross. I wouldn't be surprised if neither team even broke 100 in this one. Couple questions here. What do you think about Harden over points? Harden points is always kind of is too inconsistent for me. There was a stretch where his passing was phenomenal, and Harden, because he doesn't really get to the rim anymore, or even really, he never shot in the mid range. It's does his 3-point attempts go in or not? If yes, then he's going to have a good game. If not, then no. And against the Rockets, I don't believe they give up a ton of 3-pointers. I think they guard the perimeter pretty well, if I remember correctly. Harden points wasn't a play that I targeted. I mean, Sabonis rebounds. It's a tough matchup because Anthony Davis and the Lakers are a pretty good rebounding team, but I mean, he leads the league in rebounds. Now, 13 is a lot, but I'm never going to talk anybody out of Sabonis rebounds. All right. We're 5 picks deep? Yeah, so we're halfway done. Now is the perfect time, because I've hinted at it a ton, to talk to you about the Betting Pros app. You can find it bettingpros.com/apps. I use the app, and the way I've talked about it the most on these streams is from the prop bet cheat sheet. You can find all of Betting Pros recommended picks based on the current lines that the sportsbooks are offering, along with their Betting Pros projections as well. So when you see me talk about, Betting Pros projects him for this amount, it's a positive EV play of this amount, it's all from the prop bet cheat sheet. I also lock in all of my picks on the app as well. So you can tell me bettingpros.com/Modi for my profile. We haven't mentioned it yet, but Betting Pros does have a premium offering. And if you download the app, you can get access to a free trial of the premium offering as well. Do that all through the app. And then the app can sync with your sportsbooks. It has a bet sync function. So sync your bets through all your different sports books that you use. So you don't need to go in and manually track anything as won or lost. It'll just do it all for you, which is a phenomenal resource because it can be kind of exhausting to do it all yourself. I used to do that. I no longer do. So I definitely recommend checking out the app, bettingpros.com/apps. Next up, Bulls versus Jazz. I'm taking Coby White, 4+ made 3-pointers, best offered at plus 130 odds per the Betting Pros consensus, or you can see what DraftKings is giving you. It's another juicy 3-point prop that I like. And it's kind of, it's what I do a lot in these streams. I just look at what defenses are weak at, and then I find what players perform well in those areas. And the Jazz in general, their defense that we've targeted for 3-point props all year, it's pretty consistently come through for us. And as for this matchup against the Bulls, Coby White's the play. He's basically the only one that consistently shoots on the Bulls. He both takes and makes the most catch and shoot 3-pointers for the Bulls and the most above the break 3-pointers as well. And those two areas is where the Jazz defense is the weakest. Since February 1st, which again is the time frame I look at over the past month, the Jazz are allowing the most made catch and shoot 3-pointers in the NBA and the most made above the break 3-pointers as well. Literally the most catch and shoot and above the break. And on the Bulls, that's exactly what Coby White does. Like, he's the only guy that consistently shoots for the Bulls. Since February 1st, if you just look at total attempts, he's attempted the most threes on the Bulls by far. And even if you just look at most attempts per 36 minutes, because there are some guys that play limited minutes that will chuck when they play, Coby White still averages the most attempts per 36 minutes on the team as well. I just love the fact that he'll fire away. Last game against the Kings, he attempted 9 3-pointers. He made 5 of them. Obviously, that would have cashed this over for us. 2 games prior to that, he attempted an astonishing 13 3-pointers. Now, yeah, he only made 2 in that game. But still, I love the fact that he's even attempting that many threes. Last time he played the Jazz, he went 4 of 6 from deep. So would have cashed this play for us. And he also did that playing less than 30 minutes. Look at his last 10 games. Granted, some of that is a little bit inflated because of overtime. But if you just look at the median, not necessarily the average, he has not played fewer than 33 minutes in any of the games in the last 33. So he should continue to play a ton of minutes. He should continue to fire away from deep. And we just have to hope that we don't get burned by a cold shooting night, which is always a risk. But if he's getting up the attempts, that's all we can ask for. So that's our 6th play, 5th play, something like that. Next up, Bucks versus Warriors. And I'm going to have 2 plays in this one. And Azana likes Sabonis assist. Yeah, it's only 7.5. That's a pretty low number. He's been just crushing triple doubles. I'm surprised it's even at 7.5. But yeah, that's pretty good. But back to the Bucks Warriors. Next play, Steph Curry over 5.5 made 3-pointers, plus 108 odds per the Betting Pros consensus. This one is kind of similar to the Franz one and to the Sengun one, where it's going to sound scary based on recent results. The last time we saw the Warriors play, they just got dominated, just completely annihilated by the Celtics. You know it's bad when Steph only plays 16 minutes. Even in the by the end of the second quarter, they're just like, yeah, we're not even going to bother playing these guys. 16 minutes of playing time is crazy in a game where you don't get hurt. And in that game, Steph didn't play well. He shot 0 of 9 from deep. So it's a perfect opportunity to fade recent results. And it's also a pretty good matchup against the Bucks. Yes, the Bucks defense has been playing better under Doc Rivers, but they still play the same style of drop coverage, and they still allow a ton of both pull-up 3-pointers and above the break 3-pointers as well. And Steph Curry has basically broken basketball with his shooting in the pull-up and above the break. Now, he's good in catch and shoot. He's good in every area, but his above the break 3-point attempt specifically is night and day above the next closest guy. And since February 1st, which is when the Bucks defense has been playing better, since February 1st, they're allowing the 6th most made 3-point attempts from above the break. And that number is actually up from their entire season stats. So even as their defense has gotten better, they're actually allowing more above the break 3-pointers. Sorry, I got something stuck in my throat, making talking very difficult. Give me 1 second. Okay, hopefully we're good. So anyways, since February 1st, the Bucks are allowing the 6th most made above the break 3-pointers in the NBA. And again, that number is up from their entire season stats. And they're allowing the 3rd most pull-up 3-point attempts in the NBA and the 6th most made. Both of those numbers, both attempts and made pull-up three-pointers, are also up from their season-long numbers. We're going to talk about in our next play where the Bucks defense has gotten better. It's not above the break three-pointers, and it's not giving up pull-up three-pointers as well, which is exactly how Steph scores. I mean, he can score in a bunch of ways because he's Steph Curry, but the most he can talk about, someone in the chat said something about talked about. That's what was in my head. But the Steph Curry, that's exactly what he does, is the pull-up three-pointers and the above-the-break three-pointers as well. Earlier, Matt talked about, that's why that was in my head, Wizards-Jazz game, do you like Kuzma over 22 points? I didn't look at Kuzma. I mean, the Wizards are just so hard to project, and the Magic defense is so good in the interior, and Kuzma is not like that high efficient of a three-point shooter. And like the Wizards, it's just what I know about the Wizards is that they suck on defense. And I have 2 plays in that game, and I didn't really want to add a third one. So I'm not really touching Kuzma or really anybody on the Wizards. Next up, Bucks versus Warriors game, same game. Jonathan Kuminga under 16.5 points, best offered at plus 100 odds per the Betting Pros consensus. So technically, the under 17.5 was a positive EV play via Betting Pros, but the odds were so unfavorable at like minus 133 that I thought getting plus 100 for just 1 point lower was pretty good value, which is why I went with the under 16.5 as opposed to the under 17.5. So I mentioned that the Bucks defense, they give up a lot of pull-up threes and a lot of above the break three-pointers as well. The area in which the Bucks defense has gotten a lot better is they don't give up really anything around the rim. They defend the rim really well. Now, when you have Giannis and you have Brook Lopez protecting the rim, that starts to make sense. But if you look at the same time frame since February 1st till now, the Bucks are allowing the 5th fewest made field goals in the restricted area and the 4th fewest attempts as well. And that's really all Kuminga can do is attack the rim. He's not a high volume, high efficient, good, for lack of a better word, shooter in really any part of the floor, like pull up, mid-range, three-pointers. He's not a good jump shot shooter at all. And he's also been struggling in the recent weeks. Like he had a really hot streak at the end of January / beginning of February. Then defenses started to catch on with how he plays. They sagged off a little bit. You start to double him once he actually puts the ball on the floor, and he does not have a great handle, nor does he have a high passing IQ as well. So if you wait for him to put the ball on the floor and then you start to double, you can cause him to struggle. And yeah, he did have a 4-game stretch after that in which he played well. He cashed it in 4 straight. Prior to that, he had missed it in 4 straight, and he also missed it last game against the Celtics. Granted, that one's hard to really take anything from because of how gross that game was. But it's really just the matchup that I have a tough time seeing Jonathan Kuminga consistently be able to score. The way the Bucks give up points is mid-range jump shots, pull-up jump shots, above the break three-pointers. Kuminga averages less than 1 point per game from pull-ups. He averages less than 1 made mid-range jumper per game, and he averages less than 1 made above the break three-pointer as well. That's just not where he scores. So it's not a situation where I see Kuminga having a great game, which is why I think the under 16.5 is a good play. I mean, a lot of people are asking about this Wizards Magic game. Thoughts on Denny Advia, 10 points and Magic money line at minus 155 after a 30% boost. I generally don't love touching anything minus 155. Like my limit is around like minus 130, minus 135 number, especially with the boost. I would probably try to find something you could get plus money on that one. Wiggins has gone over 18 points, rebounds, assists in his last 5 games. Could be tonight, his 6th. He's been out a couple games, if I remember correctly, and his first game back is today. And he has been playing a lot better recently, but he's also been really streaky. And something similar happened last year where he took some time off. Granted, he took more time off, and then he came back and was horrible. So I probably wouldn't touch Wiggins. I'd want to see how he plays coming back from taking some time off before I'm putting money on him. Looks like the market is going against me on Tyus assists. Any way I can find out the hit rate on a player prop before and after CLV? I don't totally understand the question. I know that the Betting Pros app gives you a player's hit rate, right? Like they've hit it in 10 of 15, 7 of 15, whatever. You can look at that on the Betting Pros app. I'm not 100% sure what you mean by before and after CLV. So I can't really answer that one. But if you're just looking at hit rate, yeah, the Betting Pros app can give you that. But okay, we have 2 more picks. Before I get into that, I want to talk to you about the 1-year premium subscription giveaway that we are running. So I mentioned you can get a free trial of the premium subscription through the if you download the Betting Pros app. You can also get a free year of the Betting Pros premium subscription. All you need to do is subscribe and comment. Those are the only two things. It's very easy. The Betting Pros, it's a place where you can bet smarter, not bet harder. And again, all you need to do is subscribe and comment. And then a winner is going to be announced right here on the channel. So if you just turn notifications on, would be my recommendation. So you can be alerted when new episodes drop. And then you can come in and claim your prize if you get chosen. So 1-year premium subscription giveaway, comment, subscribe. That's how you get entered. 2 more picks. The next one, I admittedly don't have a great read on this game in general. It's Thunder versus Blazers. So the play here is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander under 6.5 rebounds. This is at -140 odds at DraftKings. So I know I just talked about how I don't love the odds here, but this was the best value for this game. So even at -140, I decided to obviously make it a play. This is a 5-star positive expected value play via Betting Pros. I know that the odds are steep, but it's a really good play just from a strictly math perspective. Betting Pros projects SGA to have 5 rebounds in this one, but the better value from an odds perspective was on the under 6.5 as opposed to the under 5.5, which is why I went with what I did. Betting Pros gives SGA a 76.2% chance of going under this number. Positive EV play of 30.7%. The reality is I had a tough time handicapping this one just on my own. It's probably going to be a blowout. The Thunder just lost to the Lakers and looked pretty gross. So I don't really trust a lot of overs on the Thunder unless they do it in 3 quarters. And then on the Blazers side, their entire team's hurt. Like DeAndre Ayton's doubtful, Shaedon Sharp's still out, Scoot Henderson's still out, Malcolm Brogdon's still out. It's just a tough game to handicap. So I honestly just went EV hunting, found the best play that I could on the Betting Pros app, and that's what I went with. Sometimes it's okay to say you don't have a good read on a game and just trust the numbers, which is what I did here. Last up, final pick of the evening, Kings versus Lakers. De'Aaron Fox over 25.5 points, -115 odds at DraftKings. If there is any odds movement, you can check the screen here and you'll see the most up-to-date odds. This was another juicy positive EV play from the Betting Pros app. They project Fox to score 28.5 points in this one. So even if the over-under goes up to maybe 26.5, you could still find some value on the over. And you could also pump a number up to maybe over 27.5 to get better odds. I'm just sticking with the 25.5. So last game, De'Aaron Fox returned against the Bulls. He missed a couple of days, maybe a week due to injury. And while he only scored 20 points in the last game against the Bulls, he played 38 minutes. So I'm not worried about any lingering issues with the injury. I'm not worried about him playing limited playing time because he played 38 minutes. And prior to that game against the Bulls, he had been on fire. He had cashed this over 25.5 points in 5 straight games. So just because he missed it last game, I'm definitely not scared off of this play at all, because this is another situation where we are targeting a very good matchup for where De'Aaron Fox scores and what the Lakers defense gives up. Since February 1st, the Lakers are allowing the most pull-up field goal attempts in the entire NBA. That includes 2 points and 3 points, just strictly pull-ups wherever they may be. That's an area on the floor where De'Aaron Fox thrives. So he's been hot basically since the All-Star break and on. So if you isolate the data from the All-Star break to now, so I'm cheating a little bit because I'm including it with his hot streak, but instead of going from February 1st, I'm doing since the All-Star break. He's averaging the most points via pull-ups on the Kings by a mile. There's no one even close to pull-up points per game on the Kings than De'Aaron Fox. And he also leads the Kings in mid-range attempts as well. And mid-range and pull-up, it's kind of similar, but the Lakers are giving up both the most made and attempted mid-range jump shots in the entire NBA. And their defense really, fallen apart is kind of a little bit of an aggressive way of describing it, but they've gotten killed with these pull-up mid-range jump shooters in the past. Jamal Murray cashes over against them. I was on that play. Jordan Poole, of all people, he scored 34 points on the Lakers, and that was all from pulling up from 2-point, from 3-point, wherever it may be. James Harden went over his point prop against the Lakers as well. Most of his pull-ups came from deep as opposed to mid-range, but Fox can shoot well. He's been shooting well this year after a cold stretch in the middle of the season. He's generally turned himself into a good 3-point shooter as well. And he's also crushed the Lakers in his career and this season. He's gone over 25.5 points in 5 of his last 6 games against the Lakers. That includes 3 of 4 last year. And both games this year, he scored, I think, 38 37 and 28 points in both games against the Lakers this year. So I love De'Aaron Fox in this one, rounding out our 10th and final pick of the NBA betting slate. And that is all we got. I appreciate everybody who tuned into the stream. Appreciate everybody who commented. I definitely, again, appreciate, I know I'm saying that word a lot, but I thank everybody who's in here commenting and stuff because it just makes these streams go by a lot more fun. And that's all I got. So hopefully we have a great day today. I will not catch you on Friday or Monday as I'll be traveling. So I'll catch you in exactly 1 week from today. Thanks for watching and have a good one.